Welcome back to Tamara Bowling Video Ball Reviews. In this installment, we have the new 900 Global Harsh Reality Pearl. If you like what we do, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and check us out on Patreon. First impressions, is this the same ball that was already released? Well, no, it's definitely a Pearl ASIM. Alright, so I made this mistake multiple times naming my files, pics, etc. when loading the 900 Global Harsh Reality Pearl. It's because it uses the same name and colors as the Harsh Reality solid version that was released previously. Minor point, so anyway, let's move on. I'll preface with a couple things. First, I resurfaced the Reactagloss finish to 1000 and step 2 compound, which I mentioned in the past. It gets rid of that shiny out-of-box inconsistency. Second, the house pattern again was playing quite long on the left side in this test session as it was for the Motiv Super GT test. So while not ideal, I could still test it. It just kind of boxes you into a specific area of the lane, which is a bit more direct for me. It's not a huge deal since that's what typically happens on house shots in terms of forcing you to a specific area. I just wish I could show you more down lane movement, but anyway, since I can't quite show you the visual, I'll spend some time describing what this ball does. This is a fairly typical Pearl ASIM shape in the sense that it does get down lane cleanly while the core is churning itself up sooner. Hard to visualize sometimes. That tends to make it look and feel smoother when the pattern plays longer, but at the same time offers great control on tough patterns, especially for medium to lower rev rate bowlers where the core is doing some work. So as opposed to the Super GT or say an IQ Tour Ruby that requires some lane friction to show the giddy up down lane, the Harsh Reality Pearl core gets it going and kind of rolls up regardless. So, in other words, while a mid-late ball, which is down lane in your bag, can go from big hook and friction to a dart and oil, the mid-define ball, like a Harsh Reality Pearl, will kind of, be round to rounder. I love what the core does, getting the roll going, not relying as much on the pattern in terms of getting started. Of course, surface will still dictate the matchup or where you play on the lane, but you could play this ball even with longer oil, just more direct. In fact, I would say, while I don't have it here, it works spectacularly on Boardwalk, a pretty flat 35-foot sport shot. So now we move on to Tyler, and as we've discussed in the past, he gets plenty of shape as he's a bit rev dominant with very low tilt and medium to high axis rotation, and that's a recipe to show off motion. As such, he doesn't usually need a ball to create tons of its own motion. As you would have seen on the Motiv Super GT, that ball had lots of back end motion, and accordingly, not the ideal shape for Tyler when he'd be looking for a mid-late ball. The Harsh Reality was actually quite a bit easier to use. Again, the core getting into a roll sooner meant a more visibly controllable back-end motion. And while that doesn't mean it was, little motion, the control of that motion makes a huge difference for usability for a bowler, especially someone with Tyler's style. Just one note in terms of why there were several shots that went high, and that was dictated by the pattern. Essentially, what's happening is here outside of 5 was out of bounds, which is odd for a house shot, but it is what it is. So the ball was pretty strong from in, so he had to find a slot where he was deep enough to manage the motion, but not get it out too wide, as there was no chance of the ball returning to the pocket, and so that made it touchy to find the right break point. That doesn't matter, which ball, but in this case, and this is a good lesson in ball selection, mid-defined motion is actually too much ball here. He would likely have more success with a solid mid-control or something with a little more surface that allows him to move right, actually, so square up and have less sensitivity to the out of bounds in terms of board coverage. So final thoughts, we'll come back with another video with Brian testing it, but the bottom line is we have another mid-defined or Pearl ASIM from the Storm family. This one looks to render the Eternity obsolete in the lineup from 900 Global. If you have a Pearl ASIM already, like the Eternity, Attention Star, etc., you'd be hard-pressed to need another. But I will say I really like this piece as the core does a really nice job for my style getting itself going.